Hey everybody, it's Corey from Unified Masters. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this 222 portal and kind of what it's looking like as it feels like it's an extension of what we went through in on 2.2. So it is more of the Unity codes arriving. But this one is really heavily affecting the physical structure. So when we are looking at the physical architecture of the human, it's how are we showing up in our day-to-day. This is all about embodiment. This is also really focusing on the lower chakras. So we're seeing a lot of activations in the solar, the sacral, and the root, as well as we are beginning to really anchor in and build out in the body and really birth in our new realities that we are calling forth, the new earth experience. And so what I wanted to talk about a little bit is how we can prep through these times, and kind of what these gateways and passageways represent in the physical structure, especially for those that they resonate with the term gatekeeper, and kind of what this big cellular rewrite process is doing. So as these light waves come in and hit Earth, what's shown to me is it's a lot like if we look at a cartoon, the cartoon version of, when we see like a nuclear bomb go off, you see everyone go invisible and you see the skeletal structure. And this is kind of what these light waves are doing. Is what it's doing is it's creating this flash of releasing more of the cellular codes that are held within, and all of that programming and trauma that is held in the physical architecture that is the human. And so because of that, what it's doing is it's dispelling off. Through these white light blasts, it's going to start to dispel off more and more programming through the physical. And so you might start to notice a lot more physical symptoms coming forth. So for us, I've been sleeping more. The first waves were hitting through the course of this weekend. It was very spacious, very out there. Having to call my soul back quite a few times because I just wasn't here. And this is when it was a very multi-dimensional weekend. Many times I called my soul back and found out it was in 4 different areas doing different work and retrieving more lost aspects. And so because of that, I was having to rest a lot more. So last night we had a wave of diamond codes and more photonic light hit Earth. Now, one thing I want to state about photonic light is photonic light really does bring forth our garbage, our shadows, and it will distort reality. It will distort your view on things, but it'll also distort the external. And so we noticed it last night. We were actually doing some work last night, and you can notice things start to pick up energetically as the light streams were coming in and we're activating the grids. We noticed that it started to hype up and elevate. So with this, we noticed an increase in tension in the collective, at least in our area. There was a lot more police presence. People were driving more erratically, and there was just more of an erratic feeling to the collective. And so for us, it felt a lot like a full moon energy, but just a little bit toned down. We've had some pretty amplified full moons here, and we've seen and heard, an increase in police presence, an increase in ambulances. There was more violence. We had more things happening, stirring up in the external. This one was a little toned down, but we did make the conscious decision to pull back and to come home and to kind of rest and relax. So this is kind of what is calling forth with the physical restructuring, is really doubling down on the self-care. And with that self-care promotes self-love. And with that self-love, it starts to now promote how are we showing up in our day-to-day? How are we being fully embodied as spirit and form in our day-to-day? Are we really expressing our true soul nature to the world? Are we suppressing any gifts of ours? Are there new gifts coming online that we're ready to share? How are we expanding in our spiritual presence? How are we treating one another? A lot of the focus on relationship dynamic. How can I suit up and show up with more compassion on a day-to-day? What it is it's more of the physical representation of the Lemurian frequencies, which is that divine feminine, fifth dimensional, harmonious world that we're all trying to jump into. And so, of course, with the Lemurian presence, it's focusing more, for me, when I'm reading this energy. It's focusing more on the divine feminine aspects, softening our aura, softening our heart, opening up our heart more. And so with that, we're being called forth to expand more and to share what we can with the world, share our gifts. And this is going to look different for everybody. And at the end of the day, when we get the option to slow down and to rest and to really go into these deep integration phases that happen with these activations, where it's hitting more of the physical, we might be a little bit more worn out or feeling a little more sick, is when we start to practice that self-love, we get an opportunity to sit with our soul. We get an opportunity to sit and to listen and to acknowledge it as being a very vital force in these days as we are waking up more and more, especially if you're resonating as a light worker or any of those titles, or you resonate with this channel at all. It's really now making that connection, that purified connection to the purified aspects that we've retrieved, and knowing what it is that it can provide through the culminations of the lessons in this lifetime, but also the culminations from past lives, and really tapping into that magic of our I am presence, embodying it, and then showing up through it. And so with these phases, we're going to have more choice points. Are we feeling separation, or are we feeling unification? How are we operating on a day-to-day? And so what happens is the build up to these gateways, like with 222, especially if you resonate as being a gatekeeper like I do, is we begin the activation process at a cellular level, where basically our DNA kind of it tumbles upon itself and starts to create these sacred geometric shapes. And as it does, what you do is you release programming, you start to open up portals in your DNA structure. Now what's happening is we're beginning the alignment of these portals within, so we can hold this gateway open for 222. Now, this gateway is actually opening up 221. So we've already felt the ramp up process. Everyone is embodying it differently. I started to feel this one really strong about 2 days ago. And I can tell that now Samantha's really feeling it because she's actually asleep right now. And everyone starts to feel it at different levels depending on what we're working through and what our how we show up in our day-to-day and what our mission entails for every individual person. So right now we're starting to feel the past 2 days was the activation and the regeneration of the cells and aligning those portals. And now we're working towards aligning everything so we can hold this gateway open. And this is for those that resonate with the gatekeeper. And also there's other people too that might start to feel this. But right now the focus is so much heavily on the physical that we're finding an increase in symptoms like nausea. People that are having to eat actually less. And that is because, so I'm just kind of reading as it's going through. So first off, when we are living off such heavy photonic light and kind of living off of our etheric body, we are going to need less food. But it's also a part of the release, especially all the womb stuff that's happening more in the feminine. You might find increased sensitivity in the stomach as we're releasing more and more of that wounding in the womb space. We're also noticing a focus on the male womb space. So as it was described to me by my brother Michael, is that it's heavily in the root, kind of an empty space in the genital region. And so for this, the focus for me heavily has been on safety. So especially as the divine masculine, as the embodied divine masculine has their various parts of the mission, right now, a lot of the focus has been on safety and a lot of the root chakra stuff, a lot of the earth element, once again, focusing on the physical architecture and looking at Gaia's physical architecture as well. And what's been coming to the surface for me is more the war wounding and the discovery and clearing more and more of the fight sequence that is embodied in the masculine. And so we can see this in the political structure, we see this in the police force, we see this focused in the violent crimes that occur, worldwide. And so for us, for me, it's been heavily clearing a lot of that out of the grids here in Texas, and trying to invoke the peace narrative to one another, and the coexisting, the harmony, the harmonious union with one another, where there is no separation between the classes, there's no separation between the people. We all recognize that we are unified as one, and trying to work in that cohesive measure towards building out, growing, and expanding. So recognizing that separation still exists in a large part of the collective, we are kind of holding space to allow that unification to occur by seeing through the eyes of love and the eyes of compassion. And so with this, we are now, at least the masculine embodiment is now, we're trying to invoke peace and inject love and light into everything that we're doing. Suiting up and showing up in that softened presence, which is the balanced divine masculine. We can find a polarized divine masculine where it's very much so of the powerful, resonant, quote unquote warrior without the war mentality showing up. And this one is these energies, at least through this February transition, is really excelling in the balancing of that divine feminine and coming into union with that divine feminine within. And so with that, we're finding a softening of the field for the divine masculine, going to new depths. It hasn't been really emotional for me. This one's been more on the physical structure, but I'm noticing that I'm softening up in the way that I'm showing up. Once again, how am I showing up in my body? Am I very active, or am I very electric, or am I very magnetic? Am I very pursuant, or am I relaxed in my structure? And a lot of this is just finding that balance. We have those moments of electricity, and we have those moments of receptivity. We have those moments of being very magnetized, very within, very intuitive. And then we have those moments where we show up more. And so once again, through these gateways, we're just trying to find this balance and allow the physical harmony to create through self-love and through engaging with our body more. And so if you're being called to rest, as usual, listen to your body, listen to your light body. Bringing all this into alignment and into balance is really going to help. Doubling down on the self-care. I'm noticing a lot of people are getting physically sick. So maybe eating a blander diet or having to use supplements if you cannot eat so you can be able to get the right nutrition. So during times like this, I start to really kick up my vitamin intake. So for me, I take a multivitamin, I take magnesium, and I take iron. This is just what I notice works for me. There's a lot of really good supplements out there that I haven't really delved into, like colloidal silver, definitely focusing on the immune system, as a lot of people are experiencing flu-like symptoms. If you're experiencing flu-like symptoms, think of it as a frequency light upgrade. This is a term that I've heard that really resonates with me. And it's basically just, once again, it's a release and it's an upgrade. And being able to focus on that is really going to assist and making sure that the body is up to speed with these symptoms. So for me, I haven't experienced any flu-like symptoms. I'm not a health expert. I'm definitely not a nutritionist, but there's a lot of great light workers out there that discuss this. I saw a post recently by Glacia Rain on Instagram where she discussed different supplements that she takes towards helping through these transitions and these processes. So definitely increase in water. Stay hydrated. Electrolytes really help. So for us, we drink a drink called Body Armor, and I drink one every single morning when I can afford it to really increase the electrolytes. Coconut water really does help, and that's actually infused with coconut water. So during this time, take it easy on yourself. If you can, get up and get some exercise out. There's been an increase in, the other reports have been increase in feeling very, very cold, like freezing cold to extremely hot. So I want to let you know just kind of what my guys have shown me and what I've grown to recognize. When the increase in the chill comes up, that is the teams showing up. So when I've got my teams completely on board and surrounding me, especially if it's for protection measures or to work through some energy, it gets really, really, really cold. The heat is soul expansion, and I love the heating process. It's the purification of the soul, which is causing the light body to ignite, which is actually causing the soul to expand. And this is also happens when we start to recover more and more lost aspects. So if you find the increase in heat and you are sweating a lot, double down on the showers because you are releasing programming. So what I like to tell people is, even though I really love to take like my Epsom salt baths to soak while I'm going through this, I don't want to sit more in that programming. So if you can, shower off before you hop in the bath is really going to help, because that programming is being released through our skin, especially as our light bodies are coming online and we are starting to go into that crystalline, that body, and removing the carbon-based. As that carbon-based programming is releasing, we want to make sure we are washing it off of our skin. And it can get a little sticky and a little stinky too. It's just a part of the process and we recognize it. So big time taking lots of showers will help staying hydrated. If you can, go on walks, connect with nature, sit underneath a tree, collect those codes and anchor those codes into Gaia as much as possible. Working with your energy body really helps during this too. So connecting to Gaia, clearing your energy body, balancing your field really does assist in this whole process. And so with that, that's just a little bit of a report of what's going on. More is coming online and I'm getting more and more information day by day, so more will be coming out. I also wanted to invite people to, I have a Galactic Shamanism Circle on Friday, and of course the 222 activation. Every gateway I do host an activation. So I will be hosting a 222 gateway activation at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Saturday. The Galactic Shamanism Circle is going to be on Friday, 221 at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll have links in my description box to my website where you can go to the group sessions and check it out. Also, if you go to the community page, to my community page, I have links set up with little posts that are talking about each circle as they're coming up. So I wanted to invite people out to both of those. The Galactic Shamanism Circle is going to be $33 and the activation is going to be $22. And essentially we're just going to go through working through the field, keeping this portal open and anchoring in those codes that come forth. And for this, for the build up to this gateway, I know it's going to be a very powerful gateway as we're blasting through more of these energies and are going to be aligning more with the new earth frequency and allowing that to show up in our physical more. But remember, it all has to do with our choice point too. It all has to do with keeping in that high vibrational set point and allowing in more of that unification and allowing ourselves to work through that programming and stripping out more of the old and really walking as our soul in a body every single day, doing what we love, listening to our soul, trusting our intuition, trusting our light body, trusting ourselves, standing in faith that we are divinely guided, divinely supported, and that no matter what we do and where we go, as long as we are in that high vibrational alignment and we are stepping into our mastery fully, we are going to be guided, we are going to be supported, we are going to be protected. And so with that, of course, we've got Mercury retrograde too. And I'm actually going to do a separate video on how to survive Mercury retrograde and how to get through Mercury retrogrades, as there's such a heavy stigma to it, but we can actually use the power of alchemy to be able to blast through these gateways with ease and with flow. As long as we recognize that we don't let the energies dampen us or suppress us, we actually use it as a fluid momentum to work with the energies in our favor. And I'll actually do a separate video after this regarding Mercury retrograde and how to stay supported and stable during Mercury retrograde. So anyways, much love and respect to everyone out there in the Webiverse. I love you all unconditionally. If you haven't, please click the button below to get notified of my upcoming videos. If you'd like any sessions are wide open. All the links will be in the description box, and donations are always greatly appreciated. So once again, much love and respect to everyone out there. I love you all unconditionally, and I will see you on the other side. Namaste.